Hey, I'm having a great time reading the Bible. Jeremiah chapter 32 speaks about how Jeremiah is in prison because he prophesied to King Zedekiah that he was going to be taken by the king of Babylon. And the Lord speaks to Jeremiah and says that there will be houses and fields and vineyards possessed and bought in the land once again. But right now they've all been idolatry, doing idolatry, the priests, the prophets, the, the regular people, and it says it right here. The princes, the kings, the men of Judah, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem are all given in to Molech, and sacrificing their children, putting them through the fire. It's kind of like us when we don't raise our children. We're like throwing them into hell's fire. We're like, we're not gonna raise you. We'll just throw you into the fire. And let the devils control you and guide you and lead you. We're not going to tell you about Jesus Christ, about how to get saved, how to be righteous. We're not going to be a good example. We're just going to buy all this cable television with pornography on the channels and let the kids watch it. They can do whatever they want. We're going to bring home beer and give it to our kids. All this bad stuff that's happening in America and happened back then with idols and worship of fallen angels disguised as gods and stuff. But the thing that really jumped out at me, which I really liked, was after all this, after being God sends the sword, which means He sends another nation after you, and it's kind of like we've been serving these idols, so now God sends a troop of demons to just mess you up and to just take you prisoner and enslave you, bring you to their land, bring you to hell, and just make your life miserable. But God says He's gonna restore them. He will cause them to dwell safely. He will rejoice over them. God Himself will, after all this, He will still rejoice over them and plant them in the land, the promised land. Plant them in a place where they have the peace of God, the blessing of God, the friendship of God, the love of God, and favor of God. Plant them in this beautiful land where they're walking with their Creator, where they're healthy spiritually, in their soul, their social activity is healthy, their economy is healthy, everything's healthy with them. And He says, I will plant them in the promised land with my whole heart and my whole soul. So God has a soul and a heart. And He says, I've driven them away from me in great anger, fury, and great wrath, but then I will cause them to dwell in safety. I will put my fear in their hearts, that they shall not depart from me. Have you gotten to that place where He puts the fear in your heart, and you're from now on you're walking that narrow path? I haven't been there. I've backslidden a few times since I've been saved 13 years, and each time I realized it was because I was prideful, or I was emphasizing the wrong thing in my walk with God, or I was chasing after the hand of God and the blessings of God rather than chasing after God, and I was looking to God for happy feelings and different reasons why He had to. I was being an idolater. I was idolizing happy feelings from God and or whatever. And He said, "Hey, you're not looking to my face. You gotta look to my face. This is a friendship. I'm your father. We have to have a real thing going on here." But as I've backslidden, I've learned, and I've been planted. I've gone from the demons attacking me and oppressing me, and the famine and the pestilence spiritually, and He's brought me back and He's planted me in the promised land. 3 times I've been grafted back into the promised land. He planted me into the field. And here, this is really cool. The last verses of chapter 32 of Jeremiah. And fields shall be bought in this land, Before it was desolate, without man or beast or creature, because it was given into the hand of the Chaldeans. But there shall come a time where you'll get your land back. You'll get back the promised land. And you want to know what else God just told me? The demons are like the Chaldeans or the Babylonians. The demons are like them. They come to you and they take you captive and they bring you back to their hellhole, the place where they're living, and they own the promised land. You want to know why they're blessed now? The demons are blessed because they're cursing God's people. They're enjoying this. They're enjoying tormenting God's people, enslaving them. And some of you are out there. You're enslaved. You're tormented. But God will. But these demons are just. They're having a heyday. They're having a party. But there'll come a time when people will have repentance and return to God after the 70 years. 70 years. Jeremiah prophesied. And then I will restore them. And the demons will not be in the promised land anymore. They will lose their home because they're dwelling in you. It's all like the landscape in the spiritual realm is just so intense. All the metaphors and the it's deep when you read the Old Testament. You can read it with the face level interpretation, just what it normally looks like physically. But when you start interpreting it spiritually and you really get to understand it through experience, it's awesome. God's awesome. He sure is awesome. He buys them back from the enemy, with the blood of Christ. So he will cause their captivity to return. Men shall buy fields for money and subscribe evidences and seal them and take witnesses in the land of Benjamin. You know what these fields are that they're going to buy back within the promised land? Fields with born again people that they planted the seeds into these people's hearts, and the hearts represent the dirt in the fields, and all these people are being grown up for God in the promised land. It's talking about getting a lot of people saved, purchasing back the fields from the promised land after being in captivity. And we will get to that place where we're buying fields for Christ. The harvest is great and we're buying big fields. And buying is in the spiritual realm, something you do spiritually. You purchase things with the spirit that God pours into you. And you can buy gold with spiritual money, which is different than the physical money. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. Little Forrest Gump line, I guess. But yeah, Jeremiah chapter 32, it's really cool, filled with symbology, and I hope you'll be blessed by this. I hope I didn't sound like a raving lunatic. Nah. But be blessed, and if you're in captivity, I've been there, and Christ has planted me back into the promised land. And I've bought in a field in the promised land, in the spiritual realm. And he'll do the same for you. Just keep the faith, increase the faith, and love God. Love God, hate evil. Face the facts that you've sinned. Confront your sin, the sins of your past. Confront the sins of your recent past that has brought you into this captivity. And you will be restored in time. The season will come. The 70 years will pass. And the 70 years for you could be 2 weeks. It could be a year and a half. You never know. When you sin against God and mess up, problems happen. Another thing I just remembered. It was about the dirt. There was a bunch of dirt. Okay, yeah. Well, something to do with the dirt on the walls. The Babylonians were coming up to Jerusalem, and they were building a big heap of dirt, and so they could just walk over the walls. And dirt symbolizes the flesh, because we were created in the flesh. So this dirt that they were piling up was our flesh. We're living for the flesh. We're building a wall for the enemy to come right into the promised land. You know? Alright. Hope that's something you understand. Alright, love you brothers, love you sisters. Jesus rules. Knowing Christ rules. Yeah.